Hello, welcome to a book talk for acotar, Thorns by Sarah J Maas. This is a reread. I have read this multiple times, but this is the first time I read it as an adult. The last time I read it was when I was in high school. I have graduated university at this point. Like, I was like, let me read this. I'm also doing a deep dive on it. This is not going to be like the deep dive. I'm just doing like my general thoughts. I did rate this book a 2.75 on Storygraph. Um, that to me is not a bad scoring. Like, it's a little bit below, kind of. I don't know. How I grew up with a star rating is 3 stars is like it's good. It's not great, but it's also not bad, right? And having these point 25, point 50, point 75 to me makes it even better, right? So let's talk about this. I'm gonna get into spoilers. Um, okay. So I don't like Sarah. I find her to be a little bit annoying, definitely to say the least. I understand that she's 19. I also am just like, okay, well, you were told you should not have gone back beyond the wall, on the other side of the wall, by the fairy that can't lie, or you and your entire family would die. And I'm like, so with the truth fairy, plus her dying, so her entire family's going to die, right? Logically. So, okay, I do not really like the last third. I don't know if you would say part of like after she leaves her family, which I found that all to be like very sweet. Like the sister was finally getting along, and I'm like, this is what we could have had, right? But then once she goes to Amarantha's quarry on the mountain, I'm like, that's when, to me, this became from like it came from like okay, it's decent, to I don't really like this book. I'm gonna be honest. Like Amarantha to me feels like a cartoon cutout so of a villain, right? So cartoon cutout of a villain. Meaning it's not really a cartoon villain because it couldn't even really do all of that. It's like it's similar, but it feels like a cartoon villain has more substance to it. And that might be a little bit mean, but like that to me is who Amarantha is. Like I think that she's honestly, if we are saying people are mean, Amarantha, right. I mean, she thought she really did something with the riddle. The first time I read it when I was in middle school slash high school, I can't necessarily remember the first time I read it. It was around there. Um, so either like seventh or eighth grade, maybe not. Like again, can't necessarily remember. Um, but I knew when I first read the riddle that first time, before she even finished it, the answer was love. Like it is so painfully obvious, and the only reason why someone might not figure it out before it is revealed might be, in my opinion, because those two different passages about or lines or whatever it's called, I forget what poems, or riddles, whatever, about it being violent. And it would make sense for me why she believes love is violent. Um, I understand that she loved her sister. I don't care that her sister had brutal things happen to her for the most part. Like I am not gonna have sympathy for someone who brutally enslaved and tortured people. It sounds like for fun. Did not really think about it until she fell in love with a human. What who just so happens to be a royal, one of humanity's best royals. Okay, great. That seems like you don't have the best. I don't really know. Is it that it's not like rational thought? Is there that maybe this is a spy? Why would humanity? Oh, but I don't know. Anyways, I am not gonna feel bad for a group of people um, who enslaved another group of people for 1,000 years, and yet they claim that somehow they were the victim when the other group of people fought back against 1,000 years of enslavement. Yeah, it makes sense why he wouldn't all of a sudden abandon humanity. Why would someone think that, like, I like, unless it was some kind of magic involved. And he was on the other side fight. Like, it doesn't make sense. And you know what? He is in this world a war hero. He is. Because he freed humanity. And I'd be like, okay, well, like, did he really? Because, like, what did that really accomplish? It says in this text, Lucian says that because they fought each other, right? They sent, soldiers in and they fought each other, and then eventually they had to like come close together because she took him and kept him alive to do unspeakable things to him. She missed when and where she was supposed to be. Because of that, humans won. Because this guy held out being brutalized, humanity won the war and freed themselves. And again, there's only a few things I can think of that I would be like horrified, that he did. And are not justifiable. Period. Do I hope that he didn't do them? Absolutely. I really do hope that. At the same time, since it wasn't said, I'm going to assume that it didn't happen. Those things I say I hope never happened. That should never happen to anyone. And I also wonder how consensual that relationship was in the jump. I kind of see it as that he did it for information, but if she is anything like Amarantha assaults Tamlin multiple times in this story. It is implied that she groomed Tamlin and got upset when the grooming it didn't have the intended effect. Everyone victim blames Rhysand throughout this entire book, refuses to acknowledge what Amarantha is doing to him. And while some say you cannot trust Rhysand because of his mind thing, I am going to believe victims. So I'm going to believe him when he says that he was a victim, though. I think the person who assaulted Feyre that first night, because Rhysand, like, it would have fixed itself. It would have fixed itself if he touched her, and he probably did touch her. But it wouldn't have gone unfixed. If she touched herself or something, like, the fabric touched her, it would have fixed herself. So I'm thinking about it. He is kind of protecting her. So I don't know if those fairies would have done anything with him nearby. Tamlin would not have. I can't see the other High Lords doing it. The only way I can see someone doing it is if Amarantha forced them to do it, which then the entire thing is not consensual. So there was that aspect of it, and then there is another aspect of I can totally see Amarantha assaulting her. This book has so much misogyny in it, and I'm unsure if it's because the author was misogynistic or if she's trying to set up a misogynistic world. Main character, misogynistic. The land itself is misogynistic. I find it a bit interesting that she doesn't say, "You may call me," multiple times. Like, I understand I was told not to lie to these sorts of individuals because they find it very um, insulting. You don't want to insult them, right? So I was told that instead of saying a fake name, you say, you may call me, and then an object that's not attached to who you are. And every time if someone else asks you this or something like that, you change the object and it's whatever is around you, right? So I don't know. Is it that the author didn't know about that, didn't think about that, or if we're looking back in the story, is she blaming her mom for this? And I also don't know how much of the mother we can blame for her not having the best education, because why didn't the dad give her an education? Oh, but they were poor. Oh, they were in poverty. Yeah, and he also could have made sure that she had an education. Her mother neglected her, and she had a father. And she had a, it wasn't the father's fault. She had a father. Why didn't the father ever hire anyone? That does not make sense to me. Um, I don't know. I also don't believe that her sisters were not given an oath as well. I also don't believe Feyre that it was supposed to be an oath and necessarily what she said, because Feyre does like to do revisions here. So I can definitely see a mother on her on her deathbed, being like, stay together and protect each other. Why? Oh, because this is a time period in which we're supposed to imagine in which it was quite frequent that men would remarry and then favor their new spouse and kids from that family, and then throw their first family kids out. That could have been what was being afforded to here. Is maybe she was afraid, maybe the mother was afraid that the dad was going to remarry and then kick her children out, disinherit them, not have good marriage matches. That I don't know. Um, Nesta, I like her. I think that Nesta and Feyre are the same coin. Feyre multiple times does not disagree with Nesta when they're in the same room. The only difference is Nesta's going to say to your face what she thinks about you. She would not last, and she doesn't last. And I think that's the important thing. The important thing here is Nesta did not make it well and does not last in this book as a respectable, um, what they want lady, because she's a bit rough. She does not like liars. She does not like to play the game, as Feyre says that, or the circus later on in this book. Feyre does, because Feyre is fake. She has the same thoughts, she just won't tell you. Nesta will. So, I mean, I think that also so many people like Feyre and dislike Nesta because a lot of people think that having a fake friend in your life means they're your friend, right? They would rather have a fake person than have someone say what they really think or have someone call you out. So having someone who is like Nesta, who will actually say it and actually potentially tell you what other people might think about you, is more comforting to people, and would rather have it is not as comforting to people, but what is Pharaoh, who will have the same exact thoughts, just won't tell you, because then you can pretend like it doesn't happen. Then you can ignore the fakeness, and maybe it's also because people are fake of itself, um, and so they just don't want to deal with it. I don't know. I feel like there's some kind of social commentary there, obviously, of people prefer fakeness, pretend nice, but honestly, I feel like the only reason why Feyre is not saying the mean things out loud is she does not have the people in her life in which she can say those mean things with. Because I think the reason why she doesn't like Nesta is because Nesta looks like her mother. She does not like her mother because of the neglect. She doesn't like her mother because of the neglect, and there's very interesting parallels because it's like her mother doting on her husband, ignoring her kids, but also so focused on living like I would describe as maybe not like a trophy wife, maybe it is, but also just like a stay at home person, like stay at home wife. Like I think there's just so much resentment of that because her mother neglected her. Meanwhile, what does Feyre do? She stays at home, her witch partner, or it don't now they're partners, but at the time obviously they're not. Um, takes care of her. Um, as she basically does whatever she wants within the confines of the lands. I think the concept of having two people who are willing to take agency away from each other, um, it like is a good match. I think, and what I mean by that is, um, Nessa and Elaine. She wanted them to get married off. Specifically married off. She didn't want them to contribute the same. She didn't want them to do all this stuff. She wanted them to be married off from someone else's problem, so to speak, shackled to someone else. Right? And so taking that agency away from them, right? Leaving them no other choice besides being married. Which we don't know if that's something that the sisters actually want, because we're not in their head. Meanwhile, Tamlin multiple times in the story physically restrains, not physically, magically restrains her with magic. She can't move. I don't really have any feelings on Reese. I feel like he's mysterious. I don't. I'm questioning every single thing that he does. Um, why did he have a piece of her soul in the end? I think that's very interesting because everyone else they gave her, magic. That one he gave her, he approached her with a part of her soul. Um, the other wasn't described like that, so it's like it has to be important if the other stuff isn't being described like that. Every single time he does something, I question his reasoning. I don't think that he is a simple character, and I don't mean like I mean like I I think majority of the people are smart. I'm not saying simple as in not smart. I'm saying simple as in this seems like a complex person who has so many reasons why they're doing something. And I think potentially that's why he is mysterious and seems smart. Is because we're comparing him to people who we perceive in this story to not have multiple reasons why they were doing something. Obviously, Sarah is an unreliable narrator, so I kind of don't trust. And I also don't really trust Reese either. I don't. But at this point in the story, he's given us no reason not to. I don't trust him because I believe he's doing everything for a reason to solve himself. I don't think it is to solve his people because I don't think he's a High Lord because everyone doesn't call him High Lord. In fact, the only people who have ever called him in this entire story a High Lord is Feyre because she heard Rhys call himself that. And we know Feyre is unreliable because, again, she thought Feyre's gonna lie and she thought weapons and all that kind of stuff, and they all. Right. So and he can also affect people's minds. Why would you have an entire book in which you have him and you never, everyone makes it a point to call Tamlin a High Lord at every chance they have, like, Lucian doesn't, but all the cereal, the Adel, Amarantha, Rhysand himself, they make it a point to call him a High Lord. No one does that. And I understand it could just be disrespect and, victim blaming. I can totally see this misogynistic world why they would do that. I also think the Truth Fairy, if he was referring to Rhysand, would refer to him as his name, or if his, I don't know. I think that he's a shadow of Opithian because Night Court and, the top one Um, that's my humble opinion. Is I think he is a shadow that hovers over Pythian. I don't think it was just Amarantha. Because I think you could have said other ways of saying it, and I think that was very intentional. Especially since I consider like this to be like an Aes Sedai type of a truth teller, which is like you have to listen very closely to what they're saying, but especially to what they're not saying. And that's kind of how I'm treating this whole thing is every fairy is doing an Aes Sedai lie in this book trying to tell her information. Aes Sedai comes from Wheel of Time in that they cannot lie. But what you heal may not be what you think you heal. That's basically it. So Elaine, there's really nothing much about it, and I honestly kind of think that maybe if Feyre was, instead of being jealous and actually learned and got to know her sisters, maybe we would know more about Elaine other than she likes to garden. She literally thinks her sister is dumb. Or not all, they all. Like, it truly, and I think maybe if you thought your sister had some substance to her, maybe she would actually talk to you more. And maybe that's why Elaine and Nesta like each other. And maybe Elaine views Nesta as someone who is more than just a mean girl. I don't know. But hey, I'm the youngest of two sisters. So obviously I've been on the receiving end of the older sisters wanting to be around each other more than you. That's rough. Um, Talon, he's like a stereotypical love interest, so I'm like, I mean, I like him. I don't dislike him. He hasn't given me a reason to. I've read enough dark romance to not necessarily be like, oh, because I'm assuming that's how we have to kind of like treat this, as if it's like, okay, here we are. He did it for her, but action. But at the same time, I'm also thinking Feyre had not ate in so long. She is the only amount of hope that there was to freeing his people. Yeah, I can see him potentially force feeding her. 49 meals, and then well, almost 49 meals being done, you have the false person that might be able to break your. Yeah. Is it right? No. Can I understand why a High Lord might be like, you're eating food, you're not going to die on me? Yeah, I can see that. Is it right? No. But they say that Amarantha was trying to enslave them, so again, I can't necessarily get mad with him being like, you are going to eat because I need you to break this course. And breaking this course also meant everyone else's gets to be freed. Um, I think it is a little suspicious because why did he have to be riled up? It wasn't like as soon as he got the magic and she lost it, she knew the game was done. Why not ask for information? Why not? Why not? Why kill her instantaneously? That feels like that was a cover up. And why I think Reese has so many reasons for why he does, like literally everything. Like it feels like a cover up. And honestly, it feels like someone being like, I don't want. I don't know if it's like I don't want to see this person ever again, but I'm just like, you could have asked her questions. I don't know, maybe Highborn? Maybe the king, maybe we can ask about like that. Like, maybe plans? A war is probably gonna come, like if we're like looking at what's happening here, like that those hidden conversations. Like maybe we could have potentially got information on that. I mean, could we have known if it was true or not? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That is my thoughts and opinions, my long drawn out ones on acotar. I hope you've enjoyed this video and goodbye.